In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, New Jersey, where manicured lawns hid unspoken secrets, David Harlan stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, his hands gripping the sink like it was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. At 48, with silver streaking his dark hair and lines etched from years of corporate battles, he had built a life that looked perfect on paper. A loving wife, a teenage son, a corner office at a tech firm. But tonight, as the family dinner loomed, David knew he was about to shatter it all, because the truth he'd buried for decades was clawing its way out, and pretending any longer felt like dying inside. David's wife, Emily, sensed something was off as she set the table, her warm brown eyes flicking toward him with concern. Their son, Ethan, 17 and full of that restless energy teens carried like a badge, slumped into his chair, scrolling through his phone. "Dad, you look like you've seen a ghost," Ethan said without looking up, his voice laced with the casual sarcasm that masked his deeper worries about college apps and fitting in at school. David sat down, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. "There's something I need to tell you both," he began, his voice steady but his palms slick with sweat. The words hung in the air, heavy and irreversible. Emily paused, fork midway to her mouth, while Ethan's thumb froze on his screen. "I'm gay," David said, the confession spilling out after years of internal torment. "I've known for a long time, but I couldn't. I didn't want to hurt you." The silence that followed was deafening. Emily's face crumpled, her eyes welling with tears that spoke of betrayal and confusion. "How long?" she whispered, her voice breaking. David reached for her hand, but she pulled away, the rejection stinging like a slap. Ethan, meanwhile, just stared, his expression unreadable, a storm brewing behind his blue eyes that mirrored his father's. As the evening unraveled, Emily's questions came in waves. When did he know? Was there someone else? David admitted there was. Mark, a colleague he'd met at a conference 2 years ago, someone who made him feel seen for the first time in his life. Their connection had started as friendship, deepened into something more, but David had fought it, clinging to his vows and the life he'd built. Now, with the truth out, the house felt like a pressure cooker, ready to explode. Ethan excused himself early, retreating to his room where he paced, fists clenched. He loved his dad, admired him even, the man who taught him to throw a baseball, who showed up to every game despite his demanding job. But this, it flipped everything upside down. At school, whispers about those kinds of people floated in the hallways, fueled by the conservative undercurrents of their community. Ethan's friends, a mix of jocks and gamers, tossed around slurs like jokes, and he wondered if they'd turn on him if they knew. Downstairs, David and Emily talked late into the night. She cried about the years lost to a lie, about how she'd sensed his distance but blamed herself. David apologized profusely, explaining how societal expectations in the 90s had pushed him into a straight mold. College sweetheart, marriage, kid. "I thought I could make it work," he said, his voice raw. "For you, for Ethan." But Emily, though heartbroken, didn't scream or throw things. She was practical, suggesting counseling, separation. "We need time," she said, and David nodded, relief mingling with guilt. The next morning, the tension lingered like fog. Ethan grabbed his backpack and headed to school without a word, leaving David to grapple with the fallout at work. His boss, a staunch traditionalist, had made offhand comments about family values during election seasons, and David wondered if coming out there would cost him his position. But first, he texted Mark, who responded with support. "I'm here for you, whatever happens." Mark, 45 and openly gay since his 20s, had his own scars from a disapproving family, but he'd built a life of authenticity that David envied. At school, Ethan confided in his best friend, Jake, during lunch. "My dad's gay," he blurted out, expecting shock or disgust. Jake shrugged. "So? My uncle is too. Doesn't change anything." But not everyone was so nonchalant. When word slipped, Ethan wasn't sure how. A group of guys cornered him after class. "Heard your old man's a fag," one sneered, the word cutting deep. Ethan shoved him, earning a detention but igniting a fire inside him. Was this what his dad faced? The shame, the judgment? That evening, as David prepared to meet Mark for coffee, his first public step toward a new life, Ethan confronted him in the garage. "How could you do this to Mom? To us?" Ethan's voice cracked, anger masking fear. David turned, eyes pleading. "I didn't choose this, son. But I can't live a lie anymore." Their argument escalated, words flying like daggers, until Ethan stormed out, slamming the door. David sank to the floor, wondering if he'd lost his son forever. Mark waited at the cafe, his kind face lighting up when David arrived. They talked about the confession, Mark sharing stories of his own coming out, the friends lost but the freedom gained. "It gets better," he assured, his hand brushing David's in a gesture of quiet support. For a moment, David felt a spark of hope, but guilt gnawed at him. Was this selfishness destroying his family? Back home, Emily packed a bag for a few days at her sister's, needing space. "I still love you, David," she said softly, "but I don't know if I can stay." As she left, the house echoed with emptiness. Ethan returned late, avoiding his dad, but in the quiet of his room he researched online. LGBTQ+ resources, stories of families navigating this. One article about a son supporting his gay father resonated, stirring something in him. The following week brought more challenges. At work, David overheard whispers after a colleague saw him with Mark. His performance review loomed, and he sensed the bias creeping in. In their community, a local church group rallied against a proposed Pride event, posters decrying moral decay. David felt exposed, vulnerable, but also resolute. He attended his first support group meeting, where stories of others mirrored his own. Marriages ended, but new beginnings found. Ethan, meanwhile, faced bullying at school. A fake social media post circulated, mocking his family. Humiliated, he skipped classes, isolating himself. But in that isolation, he reflected on his dad's courage. One night, unable to sleep, he knocked on David's door. "Can we talk?" he asked, voice tentative. They sat on the porch, the summer air thick with unspoken words. Ethan admitted his fears, the judgment, the change. David listened, then shared his own struggles growing up in a time when being gay meant hiding. "I don't want that for you," David said. "Whatever you are, be true to it." Ethan hesitated, then confessed something that shifted everything. "Dad, I think I might be gay too." The revelation hung between them, a bridge over the chasm. David's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and understanding. "Really?" he asked gently. Ethan nodded, tears streaming. "I've been scared to say it. Seeing you, it made me realize I can't hide either." They hugged, the embrace mending fractures, but opening new wounds. How would Emily react? The community? In the days that followed Ethan's confession, the Harlan household teetered on the edge of transformation. David felt a surge of protectiveness toward his son, mingled with pride that Ethan trusted him enough to share his truth. But the weight of their dual secrets pressed down, especially with Emily still away. David called her, voice steady despite the turmoil. "We need to talk as a family," he said. She agreed to return, her tone wary but open. When Emily walked through the door, the air crackled with anticipation. They gathered in the living room, the same space where David had dropped his bombshell. Ethan fidgeted, glancing at his dad for reassurance. "Mom, there's something I need to tell you," Ethan began, his words echoing David's from weeks before. Emily's brow furrowed, sensing the gravity. "I'm gay," Ethan said, his voice stronger than he felt. Emily froze, her eyes darting between father and son. "What?" she whispered, the word laced with disbelief. David reached out, explaining how Ethan's revelation came after his own. Tears welled in Emily's eyes, not from rejection, but from the realization that both the men she loved had been suffering in silence. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she asked Ethan, pulling him into a hug. He shrugged, mumbling about fear of disappointing her. The family dynamic shifted overnight. Emily, ever the pillar, researched support groups and therapists, determined to navigate this together. But cracks appeared. At dinner, conversations turned tense when discussing the future. Divorce papers loomed for David and Emily, amicable but painful. "We'll always be family," Emily assured Ethan. But he saw the hurt in her eyes, wondering if his coming out added to her burden. David's relationship with Mark deepened, their dates now more frequent, though discreet. Mark met Ethan one afternoon at a park, the three of them tossing a frisbee like a makeshift family. Ethan liked Mark, his easy laugh, the way he made David smile genuinely. But jealousy flickered. Mark represented the life his dad chose over the one with Mom. School remained a battleground for Ethan. The bullying intensified after rumors spread about his family. One day, in the locker room, a group of seniors cornered him. "Like father, like son, huh?" One jeered, shoving Ethan against the wall. Fists flew, and Ethan ended up with a black eye, suspended for fighting. David picked him up, fury boiling. "This ends now," he declared, marching into the principal's office to demand action against homophobia. The incident made local news, a small-town scandal about a broken family fueling bigotry. Reporters called, neighbors whispered. David's boss summoned him, citing distractions affecting his work. "We value diversity," the man said hypocritically, "but clients are conservative." David stood his ground, refusing to hide. "If that's a problem, maybe this isn't the place for me," he replied, his voice firm. Mark supported David through the job stress, their evenings filled with talks about resilience. "You've inspired Ethan," Mark said one night over coffee. David nodded, but doubt lingered. Had his coming out triggered this chaos? Ethan, bandaged but defiant, joined a school LGBTQ+ club, finding allies. His first meeting was eye-opening. Stories of acceptance and struggle mirrored his own. Emily, meanwhile, confided in her sister about the double revelations. "It's like losing the life I knew," she admitted. But therapy helped. She realized her marriage's issues predated David's sexuality. "We were friends more than lovers," she told David during a walk. They agreed on separation, focusing on co-parenting Ethan. As summer faded, a community event stirred more drama. A town hall on inclusive education. David spoke up, advocating for anti-bullying policies with Ethan by his side. Hecklers shouted slurs, but supporters applauded. Mark attended, his presence noted by gossips. Afterward, a confrontation erupted in the parking lot. A former friend accused David of corrupting his son. "Ethan's his own person," David retorted, but the words stung. Ethan's confidence grew, but so did his internal conflicts. He developed a crush on a classmate, Liam, who was openly bi. They hung out, sharing stories, but Ethan hesitated to come out fully at school. "What if it makes things worse?" he asked David. "It might," David admitted. "But living authentically is worth it." One evening, Emily hosted a family dinner with Mark invited, a tentative step toward blending lives. Conversation flowed awkwardly at first, but laughter emerged. Ethan saw potential for happiness, yet resentment bubbled when Mark and David shared a knowing glance. Later, alone with his mom, Ethan vented. "It's weird seeing Dad with him." Emily nodded. "It is, but he's happier. We all deserve that." The next challenge came from extended family. David's parents, elderly and traditional, visited from Florida. Over brunch, David came out to them, Ethan watching nervously. His grandfather's face hardened. "This is a phase," he grumbled. Grandmother cried, blaming modern society. Ethan defended his dad. "It's not a choice, Grandpa. And I'm gay too." The room exploded. Accusations of influence. Pleas to pray it away. They left early, vowing limited contact. Heartbroken, David questioned his decisions. Mark comforted him. "You can't control their reactions." But the rejection echoed childhood wounds. Ethan, furious, wrote a letter to his grandparents, pouring out his feelings. No response came, deepening the divide. As fall approached, Ethan asked Liam out, their first date a nervous success. David beamed with pride, but warned about safety in their town. "Be careful," he said. Ethan nodded, feeling empowered yet vulnerable. The family's therapy sessions revealed layers. Emily's grief, David's guilt, Ethan's anger at society. Progress was slow, but bonds strengthened. David interviewed for a new job at a progressive firm. Hopeful. Mark proposed moving in together post-divorce, a step David considered cautiously. Yet, undercurrents of controversy swirled. A local blog post labeled them the poster family for dysfunction, sparking online debates. Supporters sent messages of solidarity. Haters spewed venom. Ethan responded on social media, his post going viral. "Love is love. Back off my family." The viral post thrust the Harlans into the spotlight, amplifying both support and backlash. Messages flooded Ethan's inbox, encouragement from strangers, but also threats that made David insist on privacy settings. "This isn't just about us anymore," David said, worry etching his face. Emily agreed, suggesting they lay low, but Ethan felt empowered. "Hiding is what got us here," he argued, his youthful idealism clashing with his parents' caution. At school, Ethan's newfound fame divided peers. Some applauded his bravery. Others distanced themselves. Liam stood by him, their relationship blossoming into stolen moments in the library, hands brushing under tables. "You're inspiring," Liam whispered, but Ethan downplayed it, masking his fears. One afternoon, vandals spray-painted slurs on their driveway, the red letters a stark violation. Police dismissed it as kids' prank, but David knew better, installing cameras and joining a neighborhood watch with a twist, advocating for inclusivity. Mark became a fixture, helping with repairs and offering legal advice from his background as an attorney. "We can fight this legally if needed," he said. David appreciated his steadiness, their bond growing amid adversity. But Emily felt sidelined, confiding in friends about the new normal. "It's like I'm the outsider now," she admitted in therapy. David reassured her, "You're always part of this family." Ethan's club organized a school assembly on tolerance, inviting speakers. David volunteered, sharing his story to a packed auditorium. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, but applause followed. A teacher pulled him aside afterward. "This could cost you tenure if parents complain." David shrugged. "Worth it if it helps one kid." The assembly sparked debates. Parents petitioned against promoting lifestyles, while others countered with calls for equality. Ethan's grandfather called, voice gruff, "Saw you on the news. This nonsense stops now." David hung up, but the words lingered, fueling doubt. Ethan overheard and confronted his dad. "Don't let them win." Their talk deepened their connection. Father and son united against prejudice. As winter set in, holiday tensions loomed. Emily suggested separate celebrations, her with her family, David with Mark and Ethan. But Ethan insisted on unity. "We're still a family." They compromised on a neutral gathering, but awkwardness reigned. Mark's presence drew side eyes from Emily's relatives. Whispers about the homewrecker. David defended him. "Mark's part of my life now." Ethan diffused with humor, but inside, he seethed at the hypocrisy. Liam joined for New Year's, a milestone. They shared resolutions, Ethan to embrace his identity, Liam to support him. But a party turned sour when a drunk guest outed them aggressively. "So, you're the gay kid's boyfriend?" Fists nearly flew, but David intervened, escorting them out. In the car, Ethan broke down. "Why is it so hard?" David pulled over, hugging him. "Because change scares people. But we're stronger." Job-wise, David's new position at a San Francisco-based company offered relocation. A fresh start. "What about school?" Ethan asked. "And Mom?" Discussions heated. Emily encouraged the move for opportunities, but tears betrayed her reluctance. "I'll visit," she promised. Mark was thrilled, envisioning a life in a more accepting city. Before deciding, a major confrontation arose. The town council debated banning pride flags in public spaces, citing community standards. David and Ethan testified against it, their speeches passionate. Opponents argued it confused children, one even claiming David's influence turned Ethan gay. Outraged, Ethan retorted, "No one turns anyone. This is who I am." The room erupted. The ban passed narrowly, a setback that fueled their resolve. Online, Ethan's advocacy grew. He started a blog, sharing stories. Support poured in, including from unexpected sources. A former bully apologized. But trolls harassed, doxing attempts forcing David to seek protection. Mark handled the legal side, his expertise invaluable. Their relationship faced tests too. David's lingering guilt over Emily's strained intimacy, but open talks mended it. Emily dated casually, a development Ethan adjusted to slowly. "It's weird, but I'm happy for you," he told her. She smiled. Life moves on. The co-parenting worked, with shared custody seamless. As spring bloomed, Ethan faced a personal crisis. Liam suggested going public at prom, but Ethan hesitated, fearing backlash. What if it ruins everything? Arguments ensued, testing their young love. David advised, "Follow your heart, but be safe." Ethan chose authenticity, asking Liam formally. The night was magical. Dancing under lights, ignoring stares. Photos went viral positively, shifting some opinions. But not all. David's ex-boss sued for defamation after David mentioned workplace bias in an interview. Mark represented him, the case dragging on, exposing corporate homophobia. Media coverage intensified, painting David as a hero or villain depending on the outlet. Family therapy peaked with breakthroughs. Emily forgave David fully, acknowledging their marriage's flaws. "We were good partners, not soulmates," she said. Ethan expressed gratitude. "Your courage gave me mine." Tears flowed, healing wounds. The lawsuit settled in David's favor, a victory celebrated with Mark proposing a commitment ceremony. "Not marriage yet, but a promise," he said. David accepted, joy mingling with nerves. Ethan stood as witness, proud. Yet shadows lingered. Ethan's grandparents reached out tentatively, a olive branch. "We don't understand, but we love you," his grandmother wrote. Reconciliation seemed possible, but cautious. As graduation neared, Ethan reflected on the year's chaos. The pain, growth, love. "It's been hell, but worth it," he told Liam. David overheard, smiling. The move to San Francisco loomed, a new chapter. With boxes packed and goodbyes looming, the Harlans prepared for the cross-country move. Ethan toured his room one last time, memories flooding. Childhood posters, hidden journals chronicling his confusion. "Ready?" David asked, clapping his shoulder. Ethan nodded, though leaving friends, especially Liam, tugged at his heart. They promised long distance, but doubts whispered. Emily drove them to the airport, tears in her eyes. "Call every day," she instructed Ethan, hugging him fiercely. To David, "Take care of our boy." Mark waited in California, the house he'd found symbolizing fresh starts. A cozy bungalow in the Castro district, vibrant and welcoming. Settling in was a whirlwind. Ethan enrolled in a progressive high school, where pride flags waved freely. No whispers, no slurs, just acceptance. He joined the GSA club, thriving. David started his job, colleagues open and supportive. Mark's law practice flourished, their home filled with laughter. But distance strained bonds. Video calls with Emily felt forced at first, her new boyfriend a reminder of change. Ethan confided homesickness to Liam, their talks turning tense over time zones. "This sucks," Ethan admitted. Liam agreed, but visits planned eased the ache. Old wounds resurfaced when David's parents called. "We're coming to visit," his father announced gruffly. David hesitated, but Ethan encouraged, "Give them a chance." The visit was awkward, stiff hugs, avoided topics. But walking through the neighborhood, seeing couples like David and Mark, softened them. "It's different here," his mother mused. Over dinner, Ethan shared his story candidly. Tears fell. Apologies followed. "We were wrong," his father admitted. Reconciliation began, fragile but real. Ethan's blog evolved into a podcast, interviews with LGBTQ+ youth. It gained traction, sponsorships even. David guest starred, their dynamic resonating with listeners. But controversy struck. A conservative commentator attacked, claiming they promoted an agenda. Hate mail arrived, echoing past threats. Mark fortified security, reminding them, visibility has costs. Liam visited during summer the reunion electric. They explored the city Golden Gate Bridge pride parades. But Liam's college plans in the East created uncertainty. What if we drift? Ethan worried. Arguments flared, jealousy over new friends. David mediated. Love requires effort. They recommitted, but seeds of doubt planted. Emily remarried quietly, inviting them. Ethan walked her down the aisle, bittersweet. Happy? He asked. She nodded. Truly. David congratulated her ex-husband's new spouse, closure complete. As Ethan turned 18, he applied to colleges, eyeing Berkeley for proximity. Independence beckoned, but family ties pulled. A health scare, David's routine check revealing high blood pressure, reminded them of fragility. Stress from all this, the doctor said. Mark fussed, Ethan cooked healthy meals, bonds tightening. The podcast episode on family influence sparked debates. Listeners argued whether parents' sexuality affected kids. Ethan defended, it's biology, not choice. But a guest, a psychologist, presented studies on environment, fueling firestorms. David questioned privately, did I influence you? Ethan laughed. No, Dad. I was always me. Mark and David's commitment ceremony was intimate, friends, family, Ethan officiating. Vows exchanged, rings slipped on. Joy overflowed, but absent relatives highlighted divides. Ethan's grandparents attended virtually, a step forward. Post-ceremony, Ethan partied with Liam, but distance won. They broke up amicably. Friends forever, Liam said. Heartbroken. Ethan leaned on David. It hurts. David shared his own past heartaches. Time heals. Ethan threw himself into advocacy, speaking at events. One conference connected him with a mentor opening doors. But burnout loomed. Therapy helped balance. David's firm promoted him, recognition for his work ethic. Mark won a landmark case for LGBTQ+ rights, celebrated nationally. Their life stabilized, but society shifted, elections brought anti-gay rhetoric, reminding them progress was tenuous. Ethan dated again cautiously a college guy named Tyler. David approved. He seems kind. Mark joked. Double dates. Laughter returned. A family reunion in New Jersey tested waters. Emily hosted, her husband gracious. Old neighbors stared, but supporters outnumbered. Ethan's grandparents attended in person, hugs warmer. Conversations flowed, healing evident. Yet, a heated debate arose over dinner. Politics, rights. David's father challenged. It's moving too fast. Ethan countered facts, tempers rising. David diffused. We agree to disagree. The night ended positively, but underscored ongoing struggles. As Ethan started college, independence hit. Dorm life, new friends. Some questioned his family's drama. He owned it. It's my story. David visited often, proud. The podcast's finale episode reflected on their journey. From secrets to strength, Ethan titled it. Listeners responded emotionally. Life settled into rhythm, holidays shared, milestones celebrated. David and Mark traveled. Ethan thrived academically. But a twist came when Ethan's ex, Liam, reached out, engaged to someone else. Ethan felt a pang, but growth prevailed. Happy for you, he replied. Reflecting, David wondered if the pain was worth it. Absolutely, Ethan affirmed. Years blurred into a tapestry of triumphs and trials for the Harlans. Ethan graduated with honors in communications, his thesis on LGBTQ+ media representation earning acclaim. He landed a job at a San Francisco nonprofit, advocating for youth rights. David watched the ceremony, tears in his eyes, Mark's hand in his. We did good, David whispered. Emily flew in, her husband by her side. The blended family a testament to resilience. David and Mark married legally when laws solidified. A quiet courthouse affair turned festive party. Ethan's toast moved everyone. To love in all forms. His grandparents attended, their acceptance full circle. "Proud of you both," his grandfather said, voice thick. Ethan's personal life flourished. He met Alex at work, a kind-hearted activist whose passion matched his. Their relationship built slowly, grounded in shared values. David mentored. Communication is key. Mark added legal quips, lightening moods. But society tested them anew. A Supreme Court ruling threatened protections, sparking protests. Ethan organized rallies. David marched beside him. "We've come far, but the fight continues," Ethan chanted. Backlash included personal attacks. Ethan's organization targeted by hackers. Data leaked. Mark sued, winning settlements that funded more advocacy. Emily's family grew. She adopted a child with her husband. Ethan became a doting uncle, visits frequent. "Aunt Emily?" the kid called her, giggles filling calls. David retired early, consulting part-time, focusing on volunteering. Mark joined him, their golden years active. They traveled to Pride events worldwide, inspiring others. Ethan's book, Out of the Shadows, A Father-Son Journey, became a bestseller. Interviews delved into controversies. Critics claimed it glorified broken homes. Ethan debated on panels. Authenticity mends more than it breaks. Sales soared, proceeds to charities. A documentary followed, raw footage capturing their evolution. Premiering at festivals, it sparked global discussions. Viewers debated ethics of coming out in families. Personal losses hit. David's mother passed, her final words affirming love. Grief united them, strengthening bonds. Ethan proposed to Alex on a hike, ring simple. The wedding was vibrant, families merged. David walked him down the aisle, emotions raw. "Your turn to build a life," he said. As grandparents themselves, Ethan and Alex adopted twins. Life cycled. Teaching the kids about heritage, Ethan shared stories. "Grandpa David was brave," he told them. Reflecting on that fateful dinner years ago, David marveled at the ripple effects. "One truth changed everything," he mused to Mark. Ethan's advocacy evolved. He ran for local office, platform on equality. Campaigns were grueling, opponents dredging past scandals. But voters responded to his authenticity, electing him. In quiet moments, doubts surfaced. Was it all worth the pain? Ethan asked David during a visit. "Look at us now," David replied. Yes. The family gathered for holidays, laughter echoing. Emily's brood mingled with Ethan's, generations intertwined. Yet, controversies lingered. Media pieces questioned if David's coming out caused Ethan's. Ethan refuted. Correlation isn't causation. Debates raged online. As the sun set on another year, David sat with Mark, watching grandkids play. "We built this," he said. Ethan, nearby, smiled. The journey, fraught with drama and choices, led here. Is it true that a parent's coming out inevitably influences their child's sexual orientation? Or is that a myth perpetuated by societal bias?